I did something bad. Don't do what I did. When my husband and I first got together, he admitted that he wasn't close to his mother, nor did he want to be. He saw her as little as possible because she had horrible morals. She was emotionally abusive to him growing up and married a man who would physically attack my husband when he was a child. My husband ended up joining the military when he was 17 and running away to war to escape this woman. But then I came along. Miss Family Oriented, Miss Ride or Die, Miss Family Stick Together, blah, blah, blah. The bad thing I did was that I facilitated the relationship between my husband and his mother. Now, his biological mother is a horrible person. She treated me like garbage for 8 years, and I put up with it. I once actually walked in on her calling me a bitch to her other son and his horrible wife, and I still stayed, pretending I hadn't noticed, and I facilitated a great holiday get-together despite it. I oftentimes hid her abuse from my husband in order to stop him from cutting her out of his life. It was about 4 years ago when he finally put his foot down and said we would not be attending any more family events where other family members were present because they too had been horrible to me. One of them literally physically, sexually attacked me. She tore off my top and smacked my breast. And at this news of us no longer being willing to be in the same room with these other people, his mother lost her mind. She called him and started screaming like a banshee into the phone about how much she hates me and never wanted him to marry me because she was an anti-Catholic bigot. She just started straight up lying about me, saying that I had said things I had never said and was just more or less trying to ruin my and my husband's marriage, much like the family members whom we swore to never interact with again. Mind you, we were both very happily married and had 4 children by this time. Children who deserved a stable home. But no, they needed to get rid of me because my husband no longer allowed me to be a punching bag. I had never seen my husband so angry as when he hung up on her. You see, I'm very good to my husband, and she was a horrible mother who made him run away to war for relief. There was no way he was ever going to side with her against me. But then I did something else bad. That woman, after screaming about me and trying to ruin my and my husband's relationship for her own whims, showed up to my house 20 minutes later. And the bad thing I did? I let her in. I expected her to apologize, and of course she didn't. The bad thing I did was give space in my life to a horrible person. And what's even worse, I still encouraged my husband to forgive her. And I allowed her back into my house a few weeks later to interact with my children, and still without an apology. She, of course, as people like her do, repeated her hissy fit about a month later, calling him to banshee scream about how much she hates me. And this time he hung up on her and has not spoken to her since. Like how a real man and husband is supposed to act. When I tell you that he has never been so happy in all of his life as when he got rid of his mom, I cannot explain to you the magnitude of his relief. And I stood in the way of that joy for 8 years. I stopped him from cutting out his mom. I facilitated the relationship because I was so extremely naive. It doesn't matter how good a person you are. You will never be enough for a bad person. It doesn't matter how well you treat someone. If there's someone without integrity, no goodness will ever sway them away from their badness. They cannot see past themselves. They cannot see reason. They cannot love, not even their own child. I stood in the way of my husband's deep relief of a life without his toxic mother. I did a bad thing. Do not be like me. Do not push a relationship between people that is obviously abusive, and do not put up with abusive family members in order to keep the peace. A good person becoming a punching bag in a family unit is not the solution. You demand change, and if they refuse, you walk. And protect your children like we're protecting ours. This woman has 2 grandchildren she will never meet, who will never know she exists. Imagine that. Don't do bad things.